Welcome, welcome. So, I'm going to talk about, as your president of the United States, right? I'm going to talk about how corrupt our government is. By the way, if you haven't, subscribe, share, like, uh, send some gifts, you know? Um, Let me see if I do a little. They changed so much on the TikTok features. I'm like now figuring things out. It's been a while, so bear with me as I figure out what to do. Cause there's a lot of new buttons, and I don't get them. I don't get all these buttons and shit that they added. What I wanna do. So I started a GoFundMe page. Now, if you know, you know. I'm an artist, right? Artists are the ones that are usually getting ripped off by major platforms like Spotify, iTunes, all those. We don't get paid. What we should be getting paid. They don't show us the books. They don't show us the numbers. So let's say if a million people played my music, right? These digital platforms, the companies who run it, they'll be like, man, just give them 1,000 views. Put it on the algorithm or the database that he can see it. Because uh, you get the best coders, the best web developers. You got money, right? So you get the best web developers, the best coders, the best programmers, where they set up these things where as soon as it hits a mark, let's say if it hits a million, right? Alert me or alert the bots to give this person 100 views or 1,000 views. Meanwhile, 900,000 views were robbed, and they pocket that, and that's money that's supposed to go to the artists, and it doesn't, because the artists have no control in watching the parameters and the numbers as it's going live, So, as a result, many artists are getting robbed, including yours truly, because it's under the guise of being free and under the guise of giving the artist full control. Hold on, let me pin this. Go pin. I don't know. Help me get to 5 roses. So, people are being robbed of thousands, millions, of money that should be going to their pockets. So, this is why I don't post more music anymore. Like, I stopped. Like, I have new music, but I don't post them, not just yet, till I find the way where I can get 100 100% royalty and all of that. I want my masters and all of that. But I keep the music that I have on all these digital platforms just so that people can have something to go for, like find some material of mine, so that they don't be like, oh, he don't got no music. Like, nah, you could go and find, but I don't count on it because, like I said, the major digital platforms are robbing people left and right. So as a result, many artists are struggling, you know, and we have to be more creative, looking elsewhere. And this is why I started a GoFundMe, because in real life, people are going through some real shit. I'm like a few months behind rent. My landlord wants me out. I can't find a job. Uh, Not everybody's buying my book or sneakers, though some are, but it's not the way I want it. Like I want it to be consistent, and which eventually it will. But these are the starting phase. There's been and so things are like bad all around. For artists, specifically for artists. Because we create. And so even the older generations, who before things like smartphones and social media. Oh shit! Wait a minute. Oh yeah, that's social media. People had access to the CEO of somebody. So let's say if I was signed to a record label, right, and they wanted to give me 70%. Well, I could argue and be like, no, I want 90%. But now, the way they have things set up, you can't even talk to people. They got you talking to bots, emailing. You want to send a complaint, send it to this email, and so there's no actual real people. So now they set it up so that the new artists can't even talk to real people to make their complaints or argue what they should be getting. And this leaves them ripping you off. And we're looking, as creators, we're looking for ways to surpass that, because this is run mostly by coders and web developers and programmers. So there are a lot of nerds, but there are a lot of nerds that are being paid to teach these CEOs how to rob artists, and that has to change, So I started a GoFundMe page, in hopes that I get some support or donations. If you do not support your favorite art charity or organizations, I suggest you do. But rather than support ones that sounds good, you should just support real people, So again, I'm like a few months behind rent, like over $10,000 in bills. And there's others who are far worse than that. Um, they look at 10,000 like nothing. Like, that's all you owe. Psh, that's nothing. But you know, uh, to each his own. Everybody struggles different. Like, sometimes I go days without eating. Um, no money. Looking for jobs. Nobody hires, and I get stigmatized because of my record. And sometimes I'm overqualified for the job. They don't hire me because I'm overqualified sometimes. Like, yo, you too much. You smart. This and that. And I'm over here downgrading because no other jobs are hiring. So I downgrade thinking I could get the job quicker because I'm willing to take less. Work for less money just to get the job, and then they still don't hire you. It's like, damn. So it's like, it's bad all around. And then the landlord doesn't see your struggles, or your attempt to find jobs. He doesn't see the multiple applications, or hundreds of applications, or many interviews, and he doesn't see that. He just might see you sitting down smoking a blunt when it's time to relax or something. And that's the moment he catches. He doesn't catch the me getting on fucking public transportation, or getting on Uber, taxi to get to these places with no money, taking trains. They don't see that. And then going there, and then to not get hired at all. And then it's also like society. Society sometimes wants their local golden child to be a celebrity and not live in normal conditions like other citizens. So around me, the air, or at least how I feel it, is everyone wants me to make it. Everyone wants me to make it to the top, or they're looking for how I'm gonna make it, so that they can follow suit or something. And so, as the leader, nobody gives you rules and things to read. This is all on the whims. I'm creating the blueprint, basically, and people just want to follow, but nobody tells you how to get there. So it's kind of like on me to figure it out, so that they can like be excited about following. But in the meantime, nobody wants to see their local champion work in a warehouse, or a restaurant, or something like that. So that invites employers to not want to choose you, just based off of the hype built around my status and natural aura that is too bright when it's around people. And I notice it. I walk in a room and everybody stares, and everybody's like, and I'm just a simple, sometimes I could dress ordinary, because I know it's not the clothes, because sometimes I dress simple and ordinary like everybody else, probably sometimes even worse. And yet people break their necks when I walk in a room like I'm something high. So I definitely changed the atmosphere, and I guess employers look at that as a threat or an inconvenience. I don't know. I look at it as a way to drive in new customers. You know, like I can boost your business and bring more potential clients. You know, just because I'm a magnet. But in the real world, off the camera, my magnetism, my attraction is not an asset. It's more like a liability. So as a result, I'm stuck between two worlds where I have to create the way for people to follow. And I don't have all the answers. So, you know, I create a organization, a charity organization, which in my past I would definitely not consider, because it's like letting the world know you need it. You know, you're like, oh, you can't do it. You know, you need help. You know, so it's like, but you know, you can't be too proud. You know, you gotta be humble. And I'm here to teach and to uplift. And when you're here to like uplift, you sometimes gotta show people how humble you can be. And you can't be too proud to, I don't know, set up an organization and ask for donations. You know, so there's people on the streets selling products, begging. This is just a step in one of those directions to show humbleness, where people could gravitate to want to support. But yeah, outside of that, my audience secretly wants me to make it, and they want me collaborating with, you know, well-known celebrities. But since I never sold out, they want to make it difficult, where they think I should be more humble. And you can't get more humble than what I am, because, you know, I'm from like the trenches. You know, like I was in prison, I was homeless. Like, you can't control somebody like me, basically. And so I understand that they see me as a threat, but I'm an inevitable force that has to be reckoned with. And I'm gonna come regardless of the gatekeepers and whoever doesn't want to support. It's just a matter of time. What would be appreciated if people jumped on the bandwagon and sped up the process, so that you can have all these quality materials that come second to none at your disposal, you know. And like I said, I'm only getting started. Like, I still have a bunch of sneakers, books, I have movies, collaborations happening. You know, I don't want to sound, you know, there's someone who wishes who had a car, right? But then there's someone who wishes who had a bike, right? And then there's another person who wishes he had legs. right? And then even further, another person, you know, wishes he had, I don't know, a sight. And it goes on and on. So while people look at, let's say, like a Dame Dash who is broke in people's view, or shit, just recently I saw somebody post a video saying that Jay-Z is broke because he was asking for a loan to get the casino approved and all that. But who wouldn't want to be that kind of broke, right? Like, so people's idea of broke is all perception, because someone else could be going through far worse. So while I'm here starving with no job, 3 months behind rent, over $10,000 in bills, uh, I always know and understand that there's someone out there going through way worse than what I'm going through, And so that kind of perspective keeps me, balanced, I guess, or humble, and also grateful to what I have, because I know where I was. And though my situation is hard, right? I was in a place way worse than what I'm currently in. So to that, I'd be grateful always, and gratitude, and feel blessed. But nonetheless, this is a fight. This is a war, a battle cry to a never-ending war that us warriors have to fight in an attempt to achieve freedom and independence and ownership, because that's all I'm about, is freedom, independence, and ownership. And when they don't give you that, well, then it becomes a fight. I am not no slave. I am not something you can control. I can be humble and get a job and have a boss and listen to my employers. I can go along with that, but it's with the end goal of me getting to a position where I no longer need that, and finding my own path where I don't have to rely on such entities. So, if you like what I'm saying, if it's like resonating, make sure you hit the I don't even know how TikTok works, man. But just do something to show something, They got so much things going on now that it's crazy. And so, I mean, this is probably like one of those things that I should be getting paid off of, right? But I don't have my TikTok in a position where I'm making money just yet. So, I rely on other sources like, my products, my sneakers, my books, the donation that I created, my website, books, just things like that. Because like I said, even this is run by someone who is discriminating at times, and choosing who becomes I don't know, TikTok famous or not. Same with YouTube and Twitch and all those other, Twitter. These are run by algorithms through their making. Facebook, um, where they make you think that, oh, you just have to share, and people will view. And it's not like that, because okay, you post a video, naturally it's gonna get views. The natural views, let's say 10 views. But what the corporations, CEOs, or the bots programmed by the programmers, bought by the CEOs or whoever, will, instead of giving you 10 views, will cut it short to 5 views or 4 views. And so now you're like losing out on some views. And then you can't argue with them, because this is they make it hard. You can't even email at times. Like, how do I complain? How do I leave a complaint? And like, yo, give me my views back. Like, why are you stealing from me? And there's no way to like relay that message. And sometimes, even if you relay it through these things, like just voicing it, they'll cut it, they'll restrict it. Hopefully this video gets through. But most of the times, if you're saying something important where it awakens people, they make sure that your video doesn't get viewed. So this is a fight, a battle of humans fighting against artificial intelligence, and those who are controlling the artificial intelligence to go against us. I mean, this is common sense, but I guess with time people forget. Like, I mean, all the new generation, right, who's growing up around social media and smartphones and things like that, they don't know how it was before, so they don't know what they have to appreciate. For instance, I'm gonna give you an example, right? At that time, I go to California, right? Now, I never been to California, but I decided to travel because I want to expand my horizons. So I go to California, and what do I witness? Lo and behold, a bunch of electric bikes and scooters. And this is new to my, in my world. Like, wow, I never seen such things, like all this electric scooters and electric bikes, and they're posted on every corner, like a bus stop. Fast forward a few years later, now it's everywhere. Now it's even in where I'm from. Like, you see it everywhere. But what I'm saying is that the kids growing up, right, towards that technology, don't know what it was before it. So someone like me who sees it in California, right, I'm like, okay, this is lacking in the East Coast, and could be a business opportunity. Shit. Now that I know that this is prevalent, I could be the first to bring it in the East Coast. So someone with money and who has a vision can be like, you know what, I'm gonna invest in 10 electrical bikes or 10 electrical scooters and bring it over here, and suddenly you got a business popping, and people never knew that they needed it. So the same goes with smartphones and the latest tech, right? There's all these new technology coming out, but the ones that are born into it don't know what they're doing, don't know what they have, because they don't know what it was without it. So someone who sees that will profit because they'll be like, okay, I know what they don't have or what they lack. So let me give them, boom, what they, what they don't have. And suddenly you're a high tech. You're like, oh, this business guru or entrepreneur or some type of tech, that they just like, I gotta have it. And it's because of that, because some will capitalize on, the vision that others don't have. And like I said, a lot of these kids growing up with this thing don't have that because they don't know what is missing. And sometimes these kids stumble into something that everyone needs, but they don't know what they have. So they toy around with it like it's like, oh yeah, I created I created an app and did this, and and they don't know what they're holding on to. It could be like $1 trillion company, and they don't know because they're just taught to like create these things, and so the seniles, the older people, just get fooled because they don't know how to keep up and adapt. Maybe, I don't know. And the kids are just like not realizing what they're stumbling into. I mean, they might have found the secret to, I don't know, to everlasting energy or something, and they don't even know that they have it because, like I said, they don't know what they lack. And that's what it's all about, man. It's about realizing what you have. But the only way to realize it is by being humble. So you have to put yourself in positions where prior to your whole upbringing and understanding. Like I said, I was homeless and lived off the streets. And I knew what it was to not have food in my stomach, or to go days without having to take a shower. I knew what that was. And so what that taught me was to not have to go through that again. But not that I want people to go through these things that I went through, but in some kind of way you have to balance out your whole perspective on things. I think I'm losing my train of thought. What I wanted to say, right, is that we're being ripped off. Even as we participate in a lot of these things, like I am right now with this live video, it's all a con, where we're getting ripped, by someone who's watching. And I have a lot of money that should have been distributed to my bank account, instead went into theirs. But we're fighting an invisible force, right? Someone sitting behind a desk who's very hidden and secured by many layers of false programming, where you can't even reach them through an email. Send a message to this person, send a message to that person. That person will send it to another person. Maybe they'll red flag it to get to the CEO. Before it gets to the CEO, they'll just be like, you know what, delete his account. And now we don't have to hear his voice. And that's how it goes. Actually, that's what happened to me on LinkedIn. I had a LinkedIn, right? I guess they didn't like that I was showing my music and promoting my ads. They just deleted my shit. And so I try to open a new one, and they don't let me get through no more. So I'm like, fuck them. And now they're making it like so you can't get a job unless you have a LinkedIn. So prior to the LinkedIn, people will use go to stores or actual applications or just Indeed maybe, But now it's like they're getting to the point where it's like jobs won't even hire you if you don't have a LinkedIn. It's not always the case, but it's getting to that, It's almost like that's how it is, you know what I mean? But so yeah, I don't support the LinkedIn because they're biased and discriminated against my content and material. And anytime I see where they want you to share your LinkedIn profile, I just skip that, because they're hating. But any other platform could do the same. So what are we left with? We're left with a few people who are allowed to make money to stir up strife or envy for the rest who want to achieve. But meanwhile, the companies are making money from the rest trying to achieve the few that they allowed to make money. It's like the lottery, a controlled lottery. Millions are going to play, but we're only going to allow one person to win. And they make the money off of the millions. Who they allow, best believe they know everything about you, and you got to be be able to be manipulated, controlled, a slave. Sometimes they don't even know that they're slaves. They're just ignorant, don't know because they're in a sleepful state. But they've been chosen because of their ignorance and not because they're awoke. And so through their ignorance, they're making money promoting, oh, look how easy it is to make money on this channel or this app or this and that. And what that does is gets people to be fooled to want to join in, trying to do the same. But not everybody gets the bag, So support my organization, where you can leave donations monthly, and I can come out and spread the word better than the president. Because it seems like they target Americans and not, the ones that are not. And also those with a rich history. I have a history, yeah, and me being in prison and jail and, things like that. But I think because I have that history, I'm more able to appreciate the opportunity when the opportunity is given. Because, I know what it is to suffer. So I'm an American with a background, with a record. But if an opportunity comes to me, I appreciate it more than an American who doesn't have a background. Because that American who doesn't have a background could be arrogant, can be a spoiled brat who thinks he's entitled to things. And then, giving him the opportunity will only uh, expand his his ego, where he thinks he's the shit or she, and they can never get fired or nothing bad could ever happen, because they're the Americans who never went through nothing, and they're the Americans who were spoiled, who never had a background. But give that opportunity to the American who did struggle and does have a background and has a criminal record, that American will appreciate that opportunity and seize the moment to not lose that opportunity by being more appreciative, kind, and just all around a real cool human being, where he's not so arrogant and thinks he's entitled and better than everybody. Whereas the other American who never had a history or never went to jail or was homeless or none of that, but spoiled all their lives, probably got a car from their parents, that American, when given the opportunity, will think they're better than people, and they'll be placed in a position where they are hiring people like them and overlooking people like the ones with the background. So now they're in a position, because of nepotism or whatever, where they can screen and instead of giving it to the Americans who are more appreciative, they'll choose people like them, where it becomes like they're more racist. And that's what happens. They don't appreciate and are not grateful. And this is why the meek inherit the earth, because they know what it is to struggle. And those that don't, like I said, that don't have that history, the minute that something does happen, like, maybe down the line, when they least expect it, they get fired or whatever, and they end up like jumping off a bridge or committing suicide because they don't have the mental fortitude to keep going, because they're brought up in a brittle, weaker sentiment. So I'm thinking, because I created a GoFundMe page just yesterday, and at one point this was like frowned upon, like laughed. But then I started thinking about people like Dame Dash and I don't know, like Cardi B, who's out in the streets selling CDs and shit like that. And I started thinking, man, I shouldn't feel ashamed for starting a GoFundMe. Like, people are really going through some real shit. And what am I gonna do? Hide and shit like that? Like, no, I rather talk about it like Dame Dash is. Though there is times where you should not talk, or at least wait. See, this is where I differ from Dame. Like, if I'm injured, I'll wait till I'm healed before I start talking again. This guy, he'll talk even while he's injured. And I found that doing that makes the situation worse, because the times where I was injured or maybe like sick, and I would not care and still want to talk and publicly and let the world know my thoughts, I would find that after that things would get worse. Like maybe the injury will get doubled, or something else will happen, and that's for talking shit or talking too much when you shouldn't have. So I would control myself by not talking and just, what, let me heal first, let this injury go. Once it's gone, I'm back to talking my shit again. I think that's the proper way, rather than being injured and talking while you're injured. Like, damn, you just got fucked up, man. Like, at least heal, And so that's what he does, and that's why he's in a position where like everybody's looking at him like he's broke and losing. Or at least nobody wants to deal with him business wise, right? Because he doesn't know how to shut up. While at the moments he should shut up, and not that he should shut up forever. I'm just saying, heal first. Like right now, he got his teeth, he got his eyes back, whatever. So yeah, he could talk, but I'm talking about when he had like a patch in his eye and he had no fucking teeth. Like, yo, don't even talk, man. Just wait till you have all that shit and then talk, But, people are different, man. They don't want to they don't want to follow the signs. Me, I follow the signs. Like if I take something or if I drink something and all of a sudden I feel like something in my head or I'm feeling something in my body, I'm like, you know what? That's a sign. I'm not taking that shit again. Hell nah, like, I don't like that feeling. But there are others who will take a drink or smoke something and then they're limping, and they don't look at that as a sign. They'll just be like, you know what, let me get another hit. Give me another one. And now that limping becomes a part of their life. I don't like to limp. I don't want to limp. I don't want to do none of that. So I'd rather just heal and then, execute. But like I said, to each his own. This guy wants to talk while he's how you say that word? Incapacitated. He wants to talk while he's incapacitated in a gurney, in a fucking wheelchair and shit like that. Like, I don't want to do that. That's not me. So I'd rather wait till I'm like in good condition, healthy, and then I'll let you know a piece of my mind. And I get people that want to remain relevant by continuing to post content, which is what I do. But like I said, nothing live or nothing visual where you see me talking while I'm injured. I'll just probably show you a rerun of when I was doing good or something, until I could post another one where I'm in good conditions. What was I getting at? Yeah, so, these kids got to learn when to shut up and when to talk. And there's a lot of new, we got to adapt, I'm one who likes to adapt. So, I think about subscriptions and shit like that. Because I know that eventually leads to money. down the line somewhere, you know? And that's the kind of vernacular or talk that these new people have, you know? Subscribe, follow, share. Those are the conversations. Those are the dialogues, you know? Um, in order to adapt. Now, that's, you know, a means to an end for me. Like, everybody has their goals and what they're after. I want to make a movie and progress and excel in all my other ventures. Um, but it won't happen if I don't spread the idea or plant the seeds, you know? So sometimes you have to force yourself to talk about things that you don't want to talk about. Cause I don't normally talk about my ideas or share my vision, but if you want people to support or follow or donate in your cause, you have to let them know what you're about. Now, as I've said many a times and always keep saying, I'm a freedom fighter. I fight for independence. I fight for ownership. I want ownership of everything that I create. I create. Nobody should nobody should have a percentage of the intellectual properties that I create. It's mine. It's my baby. It's like me making love to a woman, right? And suddenly she's pregnant. And now she has my baby. That's my baby. Or it's our baby, you know, but it comes from me. I created it. So the same thing, you know, like you don't want to just have some stranger taking control of your baby, which is done in real life, unfortunately. Even I fall victim to such things where we can't raise our own kids because other people want to control what you create. So that is something that needs to be changed, you know, because they have it out there that men are the bad guys, that they're not good fathers because they don't raise their kids. But they don't point the fact that men are put in a position where they can't most of the times, you know? Not every case is the same, but the majority of the times that is the case. And we're blamed for being insufficient or inadequate, where in fact it was designed to put us in that situation so that we do not be in control of, or to get us thinking that we can't control the things we create. And it's about ownership, you know? It's sad to see that people are not in relationships like before. You know, my generation, you catch me on a landline with the cord and everything, talking to a female for hours. I'll be on the phone and we're just talking, you know? And now, even you can talk to people and they don't. They rather talk to strangers who never talk back. And that practice has led to a lot of separation where people are not in relationships. And that's that's their choice, you know. Some, like I said, they don't know how it was before, so they don't know what they're missing. They're growing up with cordless smartphones, so they could just travel, walk anywhere. I had to like situate in one section and like stay there for hours while talking to a girl. And if I wanted something like a drink or go to the bathroom, I'd be like, yo, hold up real quick. And I put the phone down, and then I go use the bathroom, and then I come back and grab the phone. Hey, I'm back. You know, now you could go to the bathroom with the phone. And, you know, so things are different, you know. And I hope you support my page and donate to my GoFundMe, or just buy my book. You can go to my website, buy my book. You can also go to my website to inquire and buy my sneakers. I have sizes for everyone. Well, not for everyone. I think the biggest size I have right now is like 10 and a half. So it's for normal sized people. No basketball players. Sorry. But maybe sometime in the future, you know, if I have a demand on it, yeah, then I'll get like size 30. I got a little nephew, man. He got big feet. I don't know what it is that they're doing to us, but this guy got like size 13 feet. Fat little kid, you know, but he got big feet. And he's like, yo, uncle, yo, can I get one? And I'm like, shit, I don't got that size, you know. I'm like, let me figure something out. I'll get back to you on that. But yeah, unfortunately, man, if I get like a size 13 or 14, it's gotta be like over 50, you know what I mean? So I'm not gonna buy 50 pairs of size 14 for only one person. So if the demand is there, I'll get it. But if only like one or two people want size 13 or 14, then I ain't getting it, you know? It's just common sense. Yeah, so you need people like me. You know, you need people like me. Not to say that I'm the bad guy, but to say 5-10 years from now, you're gonna wish there was a guy like me. 5-10 years from now, you're gonna wish there was an LZ13 or Lord 13, because oh shit, I made this video long. Gave me a puzzle. Alright, so it's time for me to get out of here. But yeah, you're gonna need people like me to tell you the difference, you know, of what it was post, I don't know, 9/11, after, and shit like that, or post internet world. So thanks for tuning in, and remember to support real artists. Go hit my GoFundMe page or visit my website. All right, thanks for tuning in. That's that with all of that.